morning, everyone, and welcome to Big Balls Fantasy Football, the show by real fantasy football fans for real fantasy football fans. I'm your host, 20-year fantasy football playing veteran, Greg Reifsteck.
And I am your co-host, 10-year fantasy veteran and Chicago Bears fan, Jenilee Borek, and together we are the beauty
and the beast
of fantasy football experts.
The first few rounds of every fantasy football draft are crucial because you don't want to get stuck with that one pick that's going to end up on your injured reserve and always be not playing, or you don't want to end up with that player with all the hype that never gets any points.
That's right, Beast. So this week, we're not only going to talk to you about the players who are right and wrong to pick at the beginning of your draft, but we're just going to tell you who the better players are and the more ballsy choices that will pay off in the end with more points.
Because any real seasoned fantasy manager knows you can only do so much on draft day. The rest is all luck.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. So you're saying that it's just a big crapshoot? I mean, what about doing your homework, researching for hours?
Running a fantasy football team is just like running a real football team. You can do all the prep you want, but then you're just going to have to rely on us here at Big Balls Fantasy Football to help you make ballsy choices. Then you just got to let it ride and have some fun.
Well, this week we're going to talk to you guys about quarterbacks and running backs because depending on how your league scores, they're typically the highest point producers and they provide a solid foundation for you guys to build on.
We've been breaking this down all summer in the off season at our website, bigballsfantasyfootball.com. There you'll also find our social media hub to go to our other websites like facebook.com/bigballsfantasyfootball, or if you want to tweet us and ask us questions at bigballsfball. So, Jenilee, are you all ready to give us your quarterbacks and running backs real man style?
Oh yeah, let's get rolling.
Let's do it.
So what's up, ballers? This week I have 3 real men for you. 2 are running backs and 1 is a quarterback, and these are guys that you have to get in your drafts. So my first real man is running back Jamal Charles of the Kansas City Chiefs. If you didn't know, he ran for 1,509 yards last year and had a total of 6 touchdowns. Now, this year, he's going to catch the ball a lot more because he has Alex Smith throwing it to him, and he's in Reed's offense. So if you're in a PPR league, this is going to be awesome. He had 35 receptions for 236 yards last year, and he's the only running back they really have. So again, he's not splitting carries 50-50. These are the backs you want to take. He's going to get about 75% of the carries. And also, Kansas City has an easy schedule regarding the defenses. They play Jacksonville, Philly, the Raiders twice, the Bills, and the Colts. So even if these defenses improve a little bit, they're not going to be top 10 defenses. So my second real man for you guys is quarterback Cam Newton. Now, him you might be able to get in the middle of the round, which is great. He threw for 3,869 yards last year, and he ran, yes, I just said ran, for 741 yards with 27 total touchdowns. Now, some league scoring is a little bit different. You only get 4 points for passing touchdowns versus 6 points for rushing touchdowns. So if you get 6 points for those rushing touchdowns, you're going to want Cam. Also, his division opponents score a lot. They average 26 points a game, and that accounts for 6 games of the season. So if he's going to be pulling out any wins with his team, he's going to have to score a lot. He still has Steve Smith there and Greg Olsen, which are trusted targets. He's got Brandon LaFell, and they added Dominic Hickson. So I think if just one of them could step up, he's going to have a great year. And my third real man for you guys is running back Doug Martin. Now, we've heard of the sophomore slump, but I don't think he's going to be slumping much this year. He broke Tampa Bay's rookie season rushing record with a whopping 1,454 yards, and he caught 49 receptions for 472 yards and 12 touchdowns. So in this division, they have high-scoring offenses, but they don't have very good defenses. Fantasy-wise, none of the Ds were in the top 15 last year. He also gets all the carries, and he's a good, big, young running back that has shown that he can take the hits. So that's basically all you need in a running back, right? Now let's take it over to Greg for his Beast Mode segment over at the big screen.
Thanks, Jenilee. So here are the players I think are going to go into beast mode at the quarterback and running back positions in the draft. They went in the lower rounds last year, but they're so ferocious this year, you're going to have to grab them before everybody else does. My first pick is Niners quarterback Colin Kaepernick. I'm so excited about this guy. I'm wearing his number this week for you. 243 yards against the Bears. I had to sit here and watch him as a Bear fan just decimate our defense on Monday Night Football. He's ferocious out of the pistol. He's unbelievable. He had a peak week against the Patriots, 4 touchdowns, 221 yards. For the season, 1,814 total yards, 415 of them rushing. This guy is all over the field. There's no way you can't take him in the draft early. 15 yards, 5 of them rushing. You're going to want to get those 6 points every single time if you're in a league that lets you do that. My second pick, Giants running back David Wilson. We all know he fumbled on the second carry of the season in that wonderful start of the season on a Thursday against the Cowboys. He never fumbled again. That's why you need to take this guy. He was only returning kicks. Now Bradshaw's out of the mix. He is the running back that is going to be doing it for the Giants. He has great vision and speed. Once he gets off the line, he's just going to go boom. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. I mean, you can't beat that. 1,533 total yards on returns, 6 touchdowns. He even had a monster game against the Saints where he had 17 attempts, a 100-yard game. You really got to get on this guy. He's going to be a sleeper pick. I think he's going to go in the early rounds. At least I'm going to take him in the early rounds. Third pick, the Bills running back, C.J. Spiller. This guy went from being a sleeper pick to a star. My boss took CJ as a second pick last season. She turned out to be a darn genius. Same person that took Peyton Manning, as I talked about in the last episode. CJ really took advantage of Fred Jackson's injury last season and became a yardage freak. 1,244 yards, 6 yards a carry. He had 6 games over 100 yards. He has notorious instinct, wonderful elusiveness. He's gonna knock guys off his back, and he's gonna get you points. So make sure you take him in the draft early. So now we're gonna take a short break, and we're gonna come back with Smash, our San Diego superfan. She's going to have a brand new segment called Smash and Grab, where you're going to learn to steal players like this at different points in the draft. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Big Balls Fantasy Football. Everybody knows stealing is bad, but in fantasy football, stealing is good because you can't win without doing it. So we brought in our expert here, San Diego superfan, Ashlee Smash Buchanan. Welcome to the team.
Thank you very much for having me, Greg, and thank you, Jenilee.
Absolutely. So Ashlee, you are our new family member here at Big Balls Fantasy Football. And can you go ahead and tell our audience a little bit of how long you've been a Charger fan and how long you've played some fantasy?
Yeah, well, I've been playing fantasy football for about 5 years now, and I've really gotten into it, and it's really just been the highlight of my entire football season, screaming at TVs and watching trades. And
Easy for that to happen.
Yeah, right. And as far as being a Chargers fan, unlike you guys, I was not born into being a certain team. My family's divided between the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Chargers. But the San Diego Chargers were my very first NFL game that I ever went to, and I've just been a diehard fan ever since. Go Bolts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, thank goodness. Thank goodness. San Diego Chargers are a great team. Great team. So why don't you give us our 3 picks from certain parts of the draft where you can get some good steal picks, some good sleepers.
In the first round, I'm going with running back Arian Foster from the Texans. Last season, he had amazing stats. 15 touchdowns, 1,424 rushing yards. He has a strong team in Andre Johnson and Matt Schaub. And to me, he's a no-brainer. What do you think, Jenilee?
Well, I think he's definitely a first rounder. I agree with you there. He definitely gets great fantasy points, and the defenses he goes against aren't phenomenal. He's playing Jacksonville twice in the division, the Colts, the Titans. I'm sorry to my friend out there, but he's a great pick.
Well, I'm glad you agree with me on that part, at least. As far as middle rounds, if you can get Arian Foster, I don't think there's any reason why you shouldn't snatch up quarterback Matt Schaub. I mean, he's not going to go right away because there's a lot of really good quarterbacks out there this year. And is a fantasy match in heaven with Foster and Johnson for extra points. Do you agree with me on that one, Greg?
I think he's a good matchup if you get the two of them together. I think I'd rather go for a running back combo and go with Ben Tate possibly if I were in that part of the draft. But Matt Schaub is not a bad pick for a quarterback in the center rounds.
All right. Well, I think the trickiest part of the draft are the later rounds when you're trying to find a decent player to put up something for you. So that's why I'm going with Green Ellis from the Bengals. This running back, I mean, he only caught 22 passes last season, but only averaged 4.7 yards per catch. He had a slow start with the O-line and influx with injuries. He had no 100-yard games in the first 9 games, but then broke 4 100-yard games in the next 5. And as long as he stays healthy and keeps his starting position, I think he'll at least get you something on the board. What do you think, Jenilee?
Well, I agree with you on the later rounds are the hard rounds. And luckily, those aren't the guys that you typically have to start. So there's wiggle room with the waiver wire, too. But I know that you were also mentioning Giovanni Bernard to me, and we're kind of paying attention to who's going to win that starting job. So.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, as long as he keeps the job, but you never know with injuries and how training camp's going to go on whether or not who's going to steal that position first.
Absolutely.
Those are really awesome picks. Thank you very much, Ashlee.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with Smash and all of us in the verbal Thunderdome, if you will. We're going to do the Balls Challenge, where we are going to take some of the latest issues in the NFL and in drafting and go head-to-head. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Big Balls Fantasy Football. Tonight, we are going to do a segment for the first time, the Balls Challenge. It's going to be a verbal Thunderdome, if you will, where we're going to take on each other in 1-minute debates about some of the hard-hitting topics of the NFL and of fantasy football. So, Jenilee, why don't you start us off and let's get it on.
All right, let's start debating. So the first topic is live drafts or online drafts. Take it away.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I've only ever done online drafts, and it's very convenient and it's easy. You can have people from all over, the country play. I can have friends from New York playing with me out here in LA. So it's very, very convenient and easy. So I go online all the way.
I'm old school. I can't drink a beer with anybody that's, thousands of miles away. If we have to fly everybody into Vegas, we're going to sit there, we're going to do it at the big board, we're going to put on the big stickers, we're going to turn it into a party. I love doing them live, I like having fun, and then you have all of that suspense and you have all of that ripping on each other because nobody likes doing the chat board on the online ones, I find. I'm sorry.
I mean, a good party, I'm always down for the good party, but you could Skype. You could do it for Skype.
Cool. So, the next one.
All right, well, moving on. Old school versus new school Pro Bowl. Go.
Oh, God, this drives me crazy.
I'm going to go with new school Pro Bowl on this one. Only because the old one clearly didn't work. Nobody watched. But I would hate for them to get rid of it because it's fun for the players. And if I ever had enough money to fly to Hawaii, I'd go watch them there play it. So I go new school. They're doing it in a fantasy type of way, so we'll see how that goes. But it should be fun. There's so many people that play fantasy football that it's like, why not?
I think it's a bit gimmicky. I don't have a problem with it being fantasy football, but it's gimmicky. I used to just like the fact that it was this really nice game that used to actually come after the season and used to be in Hawaii, and the NFL, I think, cheaped out a little bit and didn't want to send people's families over to Hawaii and then decided to try and do it in Miami and then botched it there, throwing it too early before the Super Bowl. I mean, I just like the old school. I can't help it. I'm old. I like old school.
You are old.
I'm old. So finally, ladies, catfight over this. Waiver wire wackiness or leaving your lineup alone?
I'm going to say leave your lineup alone unless you have injuries or someone's like not producing for like at least 3 weeks. If they're just like giving you nothing, then you got to go to the waiver wire. But I like to leave my lineup because, you know, that's why you watch our show. You should be able to draft well enough to be able to just chill with your lineup and plug your players in each week.
You know, in theory, I think that sounds great, but I love the waiver wire. I love trying to see what's going to be new and out there. It's like window shopping for me. It's like there's no harm in going and looking through the store windows and seeing what you find. And if you find a really good steal, you got to scoop it up. So I always like to see if there's bigger and better, and you can always just rotate through. If you find anyone, just put them on your bench if you don't really think they're going to do something. But if you playing against a team with a crappier defense or quarterback, you might find some good picks in there.
Well, we're playing in the same league this year, so we'll see which way works.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. We are actually going to be having a Big Balls Fantasy Football League called the Biggest Balls of them all, and we will tell you about that next week. Thank you for watching BBFF tonight on the Stream.TV. Next week, we are going to have Cash Khan. He's going to give us our gambles of the week, picks that you can bank on in the draft, gambles that you never thought you'd want to pick. And you can catch us on social media.
Don't forget to tweet us at BigBallsFBall. Go to our official site, BigBallsFantasyFootball.com, and like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/BigBallsFantasyFootball.
And don't forget to hit subscribe. Thanks for showing up, Ashlee. We appreciate it. You going to come back?
Absolutely.
All right, she's coming back. Thanks for watching.